Okay. Oh, there it goes. All right. Yeah, no kidding. All right, let me make this a mono. There we go. All right. Don't know why that wasn't working. Hello, hello, everybody. We've got Unify, Sprit, Simon, Mandatus, 51, and Clayton. So, what are we up to today? Yeah, sorry about the chat bubble. The OBS stuff isn't working right. Ooh, I bit my lip. Huh. Anyway, so chat, the browser overlay crap isn't working today. That is fine. Mini meters isn't working either, so we don't have our visualizer. They just updated, and this, unfortunately, the Bitwig Connect is not as whatever's going on with their drivers. Linux is kind of fiddly with it, and I don't know why yet. I haven't gone and chased down the devs to figure out what's going on. So, anywho, it is what it is. Just gonna have to plow through until somebody out there starts fixing stuff because I just don't have the time to forever troubleshoot it. Anyway, so what are we doing today? I have been on the hunt for a bunch of old Rompler and sampler based instruments. Ooh, speaking of which, I need to check Discord because somebody got back to me and I need to download their files. So give me a second. Before I forget. Where are you? There we go. Bear with me. Yes. Old synths. Perfect. So yeah. So why am I doing this? One of the things that I'm learning with sound design is I think the more simple a sound is for particularly for samples, the more you can expand upon it and make it more complex. And I think what you had back in the day with things like the Fairlight and a couple other sampler-based instruments, wavetable instruments, that simplicity bred a lot of creativity. And one thing that I don't really care to do is I'm not big on Splice or any of these sample packs that are out there. I used to collect them all the time, but now that I know what I know, it's very hard to use those in a creative way other than like plopping it into a DAW. It's like the sample's already kind of mixed. It's already designed. The creativity's already baked in. So what I'm thinking is like, if I go collect a bunch of old shit and then organize it, I'll have some of these more simple by virtue of them just being older samples that I can then turn into instruments and maybe play with in an interesting way. Or maybe they suck. I have found a handful of catalogs. They were free. They were, kind of like freeware, abandonware instruments that don't exist anymore. And we're going to kind of dig through the pile of crap that I had and start organizing them. So it's going to be kind of a boring day. I am paying attention to chat because I'm not going to be dialed in on music stuff today. It is mostly just us chilling and talking and looking at fun stuff. All right, so let's get rid of you. Audio production, audio data, samples. I guess I'll have to kind of determine whether these are multi-samples or not. But for now, so that's one. Now, is this something I could have done anytime this week? Yes. Did I? No. Should I? Probably. I will start with the emu. Yeah, so somebody's already ripped. So the Emu is one. That brand was around for a while. So let's see here. All right, starting with the Emu folder. Okay, so somebody has like this is the full stack. Okay. We can I copy samples directly from here? Probably not, but we're going to find out. New folder, Juno. Which one was this? Angry Juno 16. Okay. So they recorded a Juno, recorded multiple octaves and multiple notes, and then slapped it all together. 16. Paste. Nope. Can I drag them into... Damn. Okay. So... Gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way, using the file browser. Okay. And we'll do new folder, Emu, DSF classic synthesizers for Emu X. So Emu X. Okay, what's our fat guy sound like? All right, so that's fat OBX. I'm trying to remember that one. So fat OBX 16. OBX. Oh, probably 16 key. Yeah, I do apologize. This is going to be a fairly boring session today. But this is like the homework that you have to do and keep things organized. So these are classic synthesizers for Emu. So we will call these... Yeah, instead of the Emu X, I'm going to rename this. Oh, no. Can I rename it from here? No. Classic synths for Emu X. And I think that counts as a multi-sample library. And that will be synths, new folder, synths. Well, this is nice because I can get some of that classic gritty stuff pretty quickly with a handful of presets. Okay, next up, just noise. Oh, that has a ton of flange. Or is that phase? Interesting. J60 stream is sponsored by me. Oh, thank you, Simon. Appreciate the dono. You can chip in to help me buy one of these classic synths at some point. Because that'd be kind of fun to have one of these older ones that I could rip stuff from. Okay, so these are the individual classifications. Okay, well, how do we organize this? J60, Pulse. Or do we just do it by instrument? Music. Yeah, this is going to be less musical today, Cass. Amanda Tuss sounded like a power saw. Kind of does. I mean, it's just noise with some filtering in it. I'm going to group these by their instrument name, so maybe not by preset. So J60, I'm going to assume, because J60, there's a bunch of pulses, and the pulses, if I remember right, were very short. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, so it's just a pulse wave. All right, just a square. Let's see. I will say this first one is the least interesting of these. All right, J8, JP8. What do we got? Another PWM, kind of pulse. Let's go to C minor. Bam, 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 bam. That's a cool line. Wait a minute. Bam, 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 bam. So root, 7th, root, down to 5th. Right? Because that's... Anyway. Devin's going through samples because people don't organize their stuff. And that's fine. At least these are grouped by instrument. Not super descriptive, but I can also search for stuff later. So JP8, Pulse, and Sync. Now, the thing is 99.9% of the time, I am not going to dive into synth-based samples because I have synthesizers. I have wavetable synthesis. I have access to tools that will let me get a facsimile of what made old synths sound as cool as they did. But that being said, on the occasion that I want to get something with maybe some specificity, I kind of have this available. All right, so J saw 16. Again, not sure what the 16 designation is, unless it's just 16 keys. Oh, it's okay. So Jay saw. It's probably another Juno. Okay, that's fine. We'll break these up into two instruments. J square 16. This is where it'd be nice to have somebody with an emu pedigree that could tell me something. Oh, that actually reminds me of a fun story about emu. Hang on one second. Gotta fix my camera. So, I'm going to tell you a fun story about meeting the crystal method. Very briefly. So, this was a while ago. It was back when they were still the two-man band, and this was after. I think this was after Divided by Night, and it was probably. I'm trying to think. What was the year? It was after Divided by Night, and it was right around the time that they released that dancey album that was kind of trying to do some dubstep and some other stuff that may not have worked so great. But regardless, it was still the two-man group. They were playing in Orlando, and I'll tell you one of the things that I did a lot just because I was desperate to meet people and network and talk is I kind of figured out how you could just sneak into shit half the time. So I went to the show. I knew some people, so I went to the show, bought tickets, whatever, hanging out, and then eventually wind my way into the green room. And I'll tell you why this has an emu story in a second. So we're hanging out. It is like 20 people. It's like everyone who knows someone hangs out. And oh, thank you, Simon. Appreciate the other dono. Help. Also more sponsor and prop. So, anyway, so it's not like I'm hanging out with them directly. It's more like they're there schmoozing with just people who are hanging out and having a good time. But it's like a lot of like staff. So staff is coming through, promoters and their friends, all that crap. In the music game, there's everybody knows somebody, and then they all have their cliques, and then all the cliques try to hang out and do cool stuff. But for whatever reason, I had this with me. I had my like DJ backpack at that time. I think I was doing something nearby, so I had my equipment with me. And I'm like, hey guys, I really like their stuff. One guy was having his birthday. He's the member that's no longer part of the band. He retired. Blackout.com drunk. That guy was Kentucky fried for that conversation. He was barely with it. He was having a good time. It was his birthday weekend, apparently. So it's like, cool, you enjoy yourself. But I was talking to the other guy who's still part of the band. And it was like, hey, I'm a big fan. Grew up with your music. I had your stuff on CD. And anyway, big inspo. Could you sign something of mine just to say that you did? And sure enough, they're like, yeah, sure. So I have them sign my Launchpad. And unfortunately, it's a very smudgy signature because the Sharpie that I had was, well, doing its best. So I ended up throwing some masking tape on it just to preserve whatever was left of the signature. But I know that they signed it. But it was funny because then the guy who was very drunk kind of snapped out for a minute. It's like, wait a minute. As he's signing, he's like, this reminds me of the old Emu MIDI controllers. And then the other guy's, yeah, you're right. So they start going on like an old heads convo about like old sampler and synthesizer equipment. And it was just kind of funny because they're like, yeah, so before you had this Ableton Live and the push and all, that wasn't even the push, it was the APC controller. Before you had all this stuff, you had Emu brand everything. Daft Punk used them, we used them. Everybody had that shit. They had samplers, they had things, and they were the first fuckers to come out with a grid controller kind of like this. And it was like a drum machine pad thing, but people were using it in creative ways back in 90s time. But anyway, it was just so funny because the guy was just like, yeah, kind of out of it. And it's like, wait a minute, we're talking sound equipment. And he kind of came to for a bit. And then I thanked them for the time. Hey, go have a good set. Went off, left the green room, had drinks, watched the show, had a good time. But that was just one of those funny, like, yeah, that was a funny evening, and probably the most interesting meeting an artist that I look up to, because they were just it was a very happenstance meetup. They were super cool about it because again, I'm not supposed to be in the fucking green room. It's not my show. I'm not playing with them, and I'm not like I don't know nobody. I just happen to have enough ancillary friends to where I could weasel my way into like, hey, can I come in? Sure. Yeah, I just want to say hi to them, kind of thing. But yeah, this is what I had on me, and then they signed it, and I thought that was cool. So yeah, just thinking of all these Emu brand pieces of samples. It's like, oh right, that was a brand that was a predecessor to a lot of these other Novations and other gear makers. So anyway. What are you gonna say when someone at random a guy asks for it back? What money? Is that the plan? Just spend all your money so your loan shark doesn't come take it from you? Is that stained? Or is that the light? It looks stained as hell. Alright. Got brown tooth on cam. Oh yeah, I totally do. What the fuck is that? I'll have to get at that with like a pick or something. That is like gnarly. Anyway, alright. Back to what we're doing. We're gonna minimize myself so you can't see my nasty ass brown tooth. And keep on going. Fat bass. That's not very fat. I'm assuming octaves lower. Yeah, there we go. Oh, whoops. Okay, so that was kind of their old. That's got to be like pseudo wavetable. So that's an M fat bass. New folder. M fat bass. 16. Oh, whoops. Wait a minute. What about these? We got some long hums and other shit in here. All right. So hum and hiss are kind of one shots. And they don't really say they're from anything, so that'll just be just for the Emu X. Yeah, so anything that's just miscellaneous is Emu X misc. Again, very happy somebody collected all these sounds. They did not care to organize them very much. Yeah, I'm going to cut this and put it in the miscellaneous because that doesn't really have that's not an instrument, that's just a one-off from the instrument. All right, max strings. This is another reason that I want some of these old samplers. There's this quality to some of these old, I'm trying to sound like an acoustic instrument kind of thing. And yeah. Anyway, all right. So matrix strings. Another fat bass. Oh, M fat bass. No, I already have that. All right, new folder, M fat bass 16. Jesus, there's a shit ton of them. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 47 fat basses. Are there duplicates? I don't think so. Oh, it's just full octave keys. Okay. So, all right. Mini saw. Let's take a look. Classic sawtooth. Oh, let's loop. All right. Interesting. Turn that back off. Turn that back to off. So that is classic mini. New folder. Mini. Oh, actually, that's going to be rename. Mini saw. So it looks like back in the day, Emu sampled other instruments for their sampler instrument, which I find kind of interesting. Oh, those are tri-saws. Oops. There's the mini tri-saw. So M for mini. Okay. Yeah, I think that Mini Moog, that's got to be what they're talking about, right? And then another OBX. So OBX Pulse 16. I think that's Ober or something. That one I'm not so sure. Fat saw from a P10. Whatever that is. P10 fat saw. Yeah, we're going to rename these to what I think they are. What I've wondered for a long time, did Slime Guy come to be your... how did Slime Guy come to be your mascot? Did you deliberately choose it as a mascot, or did you stick with... Okay, let's try that again. Mendatus51. What I've wondered for a long time, how did Slime Guy come to be your mascot? Did you deliberately choose it as a mascot, or did it stick since its first appearance on the cover of Bad Science, or at least the concept of slime creature? So, pretty much the latter. I had done the photo shoot. I had worked with a collaborator who helped me with some branding stuff, and we found that creature model for our photographer to kind of edit into some of the photos. Ultimately, we didn't do a ton with it, except for what's on Spotify. But after that, we had reached out to the person to see if they wanted to sell the asset, and then I could kind of use it. They said no. And I'm like, but that'd be kind of cool to have. So that's when I reached out to Crinkles and hired him to make Slime Dude 1.0. And he was all for it. So yeah, that's what we did. So it wasn't the plan. It's just sort of what happened, and all the better for it. Fat saw. They have a ton. P10 pulse. P10 pulse, they have a ton. It's interesting that some of these they decided to record a lot of samples, and some that they chose not to. I would almost guess too, though, this may be just a case of the person who ripped these couldn't rip all of them out. So, and now we have Slime Guy. That is right, Prince Apophis. P10 saw 16. Oh no. Ah! Okay. P10 try. I feel like a new gen. I don't know who Slime Guy is. Oh, it's just the character that I've been putting on my album art for the last year and a half or so. So you keep seeing him. We created a little mascot, so it'd just be easy to put onto fun stuff. And I'm wearing a t-shirt. Got the Slime Guy t-shirt. Which I did not forget. I do intend to put out another limited merch run. We've just been a little busy at the house recently, so Pulse 12. What's the Pulse 12? Okay, we need to look at these. I have no idea. I don't know why they have so many. We're just going to call it Pulse. So just Pulse. I'm going to call it some Pulse. Oops, right. Okay, Super Juno and a Taurus. What's the Taurus? Super Juno's going to be a saw. Yep. Just another saw. Okay. How did I find out about Brop before Slime Guy? That is a wonderful question. Oh, that's more noise, isn't it? fuck is that? Hang on. All right, we're throwing a reverb on that because that just sounds cool as heck. Reverb. All right, wait. That's about a house tempo, so let's do. All right, not to get too distracted. That was cool. That's a neat little sound. And that's one of the VMS noise. So, I'm gonna put that in miscellaneous because that's just weird. So VMS noise. Where's our emu misc? Emu misc. And then the Super Juno. Juno's going to be mostly saws. And then the Taurus Open is the last one. And the Taurus, I think, is just another saw. So Taurus Open 16. All right. One folder down of a lot. Emu Dance Streets. Oh my God, the Emu collection is freaking huge. We have to go through, I've got like thousands of samples here. Oh, mother. Oh, this can be, yes. Who's messaging me? No. Nothing of import. Okay. Well, yep, there's a lot here. So the Emu is going to be about a few thousand samples total. What else did I just download? That buddy zip of mine. Extract. Oh shit, and then he has a whole set here too. See, these are all organized. They have all the fucking NKI files though for contact. Let's see what he's got, because these actually might be reasonably well organized without a whole lot of effort. Multi-samples, synths, old synths. These are well organized. So, that's pretty good. All right, shout outs to Goss and Subby. That was excellent. Exactly. I need to give them a reply. Zach. Thank you, guys. All right. Not technically multi-sample here. Boy, that does cover a lot of bases, though. Old Waldorf. That's ominous. All right, those would be pretty useful. So let's rename more classic synths. Okay. Back to what else do we got? I have this Proteus sample library, which is just this huge collection of random crap. I think what they had is that they were collecting samples for sample packs, and then you just put out a freebie. I don't really want to organize that. The CMI sound library. I think this is the CMI Fairlight. Let's go through that quick. Which, that should be organized fine. Let's double check. If we go... Yeah, CMI sound library, keyboard. Let me see if I can find a video, because this one's actually kind of interesting. This is an interesting instrument. Tube. CMI Fairlight. Yep. I don't need like a 20-minute video. I need a short, something that'll kind of go over it. Because it was a very cool... This was an instrument ahead of its time. Perfect. We'll go look at Herbie Hancock talking about.
You are sculpting. You're sculpting. Just like in the synthesizer, they're taking a pure electric signal and sculpting it into something of beauty.
Could you explain what you're doing there?
Oh, I'm loading a program that has some rhythm instruments in it into this device, which will bring it up on the keyboard.
What is rhythm? Is it like a sound? What sound or a combination of sounds?
It's a combination of different sounds. See, this IN means an instrument file. So it's a combination of the VCs, the VC means voice file. The way to find out what rhythm is you highlight it like that, and then you touch query.
So I'm just going to point out here how freaking cool this is. There is a synthesizer back in the day, this is the 80s, with a stylus touch control. And if I remember right, you actually could blend waveforms together. It was like a very early wavetable synthesizer. And it's like, that's wild how far back that goes. I find this stuff to be very fascinating.
Query will tell you what's in it.
That breaks it down. Oh, right. I love it, yeah.
Instruments of...
That's beautiful. I remember you showed me this in the truck, remember?
Yeah.
When I first brought it over to you.
But let's see now. I think, actually, let me see. Page L. I'm going to look at the library. Okay. Now, there are two ways to do it. You can either write it on the screen or you can play it on the keyboard.
Oh, okay.
See, if you're writing on the screen...
What's the difference between this one and that one?
Huh?
I see two different kinds of different symbols there. This got a dot.
Yeah, it's just a dotted 8. See, I don't know which keyboard that is. Conga high. Let me see where that is.
Rabbit.
Anyway, I just wanted to share if you want to look up more. That's the CMI Fairlight. It was wild to me knowing something like that existed back then that was far more sophisticated than I ever gave that period credit for. Because, like, A lot of there wasn't digital yet. All of the synthesizers were mostly, it's an analog circuit doing, oscillations by passing electricity over it. And yeah, it was just it was wild to see that something that far into the future existed, and it had samples in it. And it's like, well, that's not a big deal. It's like, no, that was a huge fucking deal back then. Anyway, I thought it was nifty. So, luckily, I did find a library. So, we have a lot of these samples from that instrument accessible, which now I'm just curious, is the percussion all there? Yeah, these are all pretty well organized. I'm not even going to worry about it. It's probably not a complete pull. Effects. Now I'm just curious if there's frog, if that's actually in there somewhere. Then I'll know that I have the full... Oh! Wait. We have animals. Crow, dog, dove, no frog. Well, where the hell is that frog from? That's... Wow, that is an old-timey one. Anywhoosies. All right, so CMI, that collection's pretty solid. Copy. Thank you for the revised sound library. And again, these are the efforts of other folks that have... Okay, would it... I guess I could put it into more classic synths, because that's just there. I don't know. What is in general? Let's see what we got. What have you done? What have you done? Let's see. Scary Locknar. Boo. Stupid. You're fired. You're hired. You're fired again. All right. So CMI copies in here. I'd say that's a pretty solid solid set. Let's see. What else did we download? I think that was the key ones. So yeah, we got it. Most of this is going to be the emu sounds that are ripped. There's 1,000 friggin' samples in here. Percussion X. Yeah, well, let's pop through them for grinsies. Probably not through the sampler browser. Yeah, no, why not? Emu sounds. Dance 2000. So that's a pretty eclectic set. I'll have to dig through that. Hey Locknar, can't stay for the stream, but it's really late for me. But I just wanted to drop by and wish you good luck sorting out and organizing all the samples. I appreciate it. I think this will not all get done at one time. This will certainly take me probably a few days of work to dig through. It is fascinating how much I was able to drum up. So the Emu sample series has a ton. General MIDI. Oh, they got some bare bones MIDI things. Yeah, so the Emu one's gonna be pretty rough to get through. But I think I'm gonna want to, because if I look right, so if I look at this, let me turn this down. Oh yeah, Kraftwerk, classic. Yeah, they're one of the big ones too. All right. So that's just general. They're so short, and I'm trying to figure out if they're supposed to have like tails or not. Doesn't look like it. So general MIDI, kind of crummy sounds. Yeah, that's all piano. Oh my god, that's gonna be a bastard. But I can at least turn that into a very nice piano. So that is Steinberg. Yeah, Steinberg Grand. So let's just grab the Steinberg Grand. Just drag it over. Ooh. Ah. Okay, multi-samples. This one's going to be... It's not necessarily orchestral. I think this is just piano. So new folder, piano. And that's piano. I think there's a few pianos in here, so we're just going to grab another grand. Studio Grand. Vintage keys, which looks like is just one whole big ass thing. No, there's a ton of them. Fudge. Let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did stream crash? No? Okay. So there's it's like there's mixes of crap in here, which makes it oh no, does the other grands have stuff too? No, that's just piano. This should also just be piano. So Studio Grand has a handful of instruments in it. That's wild, though. There's a lot of articulations in here, so you have to... If I were to make this a multi-timbral sample instrument, it'd be a lot of work. I'd have to sort through all of these articulations. I could... It exists in case I need it, if, like, the internet goes out and I need a piano. So, Studio Grand needs to get broken out, because it does. Let's see. Yeah, I got 15 minutes left of me. Let's bang out this last bit of organization. Audio production, audio data, samples, multi-sample piano. Dun dun. Dash underscore. cell. What is it? Okay, paste. Okay. Bass. Yeah, it's just a bass. So, bass. Cut. Emu Studio bass. Paste. So violins and violas. Okay, that's easy enough. So go back. Violins. Cut. New folder, Emu Studio violins. Paste. And last but not least, violas. I'm assuming they're violas. I might be wrong. Paste. All right. So that's those. That's cleaned up. So only like a few thousand left to go. But yeah, you see, this is just, it's a treasure trove of interesting stuff. And again, it's hard to put into words because it's so particular. But I have found modern music sound libraries, and I think a lot of this just has to do with trend, is that they all start to just become the same thing. It's the same sounds, it's the same ideas, it's the same regurgitation over and over again. And I noticed that like years ago, even when I was making them. It's like, yeah, you're just kind of making bog standard generic crap for people to throw together. And it's just missing, like, it's missing simplicity where it needs it, and a granularity. So being able to take these piano samples, even if I don't turn it into a fully fledged instrument, like reprogram the piano parts, I can just take the individual sample and play with it and do something interesting with it. And having something distill it down to these core sound ideas is something that's interesting to me. And if I'm filling in the gap that these DAWs don't ever provide enough built in to really go to, I don't know. The built-in stuff is good, but there's not a whole lot of it. And I need these like fundamental sound ideas that are very small, so I can build on them and layer them and come up with something goofy using sampling, wavetables, whatever. But yeah, that was a chill day. Kind of wanted to get started on that project, really just to force myself to do homework I intended to do last week while I was out. I back to our regular schedule programming. So I'll see you guys on Thursday, and yeah, probably working on some new shit. So, and hopefully eventually Titan fixes OBS for Arch, because that's just not working with the browser plugin, because OBS doesn't include the browser plugin in Linux by default. I don't know why. So we'll hopefully have overlays back by then. And in the meantime, Bitwig, hopefully they're making updates to the Connect so it doesn't crap out on me every time. But so far it's working okay. So anyway.